can't look at life and death as the end of the end of the spectrum, life here and death here. You have to look at life and death as being in the middle of the spectrum and maybe not very far apart, with other aspects of the spectrum being used for other energetic and conscious possibilities, other possibilities of existence. So that, instead of life and death being sort of the polar opposites, which include the middle of everything, between which everything else is included, they may be just two sequential stages in a much larger spectrum of being / non-being.
It could also be, hearing that, it also reminds me of like the Big Bang and the birth of the universe, and the idea of when one, whose theory is this? Is this part of Superstring? Where the collapsing of the universe then creates a new universe, so this sort of dying and birthing of universes.
Mm-hmm.
So could we be in sync from the universe? So here we have the universe inhalation, exhalation, if you will, and how that how we're mimicking that with the life and death of of our own experience.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, that's a good question. Because on a micro level, you might say that death is happening every moment, right? Because as one moment changes into the next, the first moment dies, disappears.
Right.
Right.
And there's something that connects them, but or there may be something that connects them. There probably is something that connects them, but
we don't know for sure.
Don't know for sure. And the question is, what is death? That maybe death is like a whole bunch of moments added up together, where you, instead of just one thing or two things changing, a whole series of changes, everything to do with the relationship of your being to your body, undergoes some kind of shift or change. So it's death could be conceptualized as a change, not a micro change in a few things, but a macro change in everything.
Yeah, it could be. And the question that comes up for me now is death a process, or is death a state itself? Because I wonder, is death the process of going from existence to non-existence? And is life the process of going from non-existence to existence? This dissolving and arising.
That's where our concepts don't serve us well, because when you ask those questions, I don't think the way we have the concepts formed now, I don't think we can answer those questions very effectively.
Yeah, I agree. We need a process-based language. Right? Our language is based on entities and objects, and they may not be accurate descriptors of what we're talking about.
So you're bringing in the Whitehead, Alfred North Whitehead concepts that we were talking about last time, very briefly, the time before last, very briefly. Is that right?
Yeah, I think he could be a good example of a process-based approach. Life being the concrescence of actual entities, and sort of coming into being of all
Say more about that.
Well, I don't know Whitehead that well, but I think his idea is that what's arising in every moment are occasions of experience. Right? Every part of the universe being a particular aspect of experience that's arising freshly in each moment. So in that sense, it's process-based. But I don't know what he would say about life. I know he does have an essay towards the end of his life on immortality, which I haven't read. But Eric Weiss points to it in his book, The Long Trajectory.
What does it say? What does Eric say?
What does Eric say? Eric just gives a couple different hypotheses about reincarnation. You know, I can't remember the details right now, but he goes into some detail, and it's a good summary, I think.
Yeah, I'm a little murky on experience as a process. Is there anything else you can add that might?
Well, I mean, experience as a process,
or that instead of objects you have processes.
Well, I'd say our own experience points to that, because our experience is always changing. It's never the same at any moment. And you can only say that our experience is the occurrence of what's happening now. And you can never capture that in any static way. So because our experience and the universe is always changing, then a process-based approach might be a more accurate reflection of what's actually happening.
Hmm.
I mean, that's what the ego is taking snapshots of reality and saying, well, this is it. Building an identity based on that.
And only that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I wonder if life and death are different than living and dying.
Life and death seem to sort of harden living in life. Sort of hardens living into life, and death hardens dying into death.
But maybe it's our concepts that harden living into life and dying into death.
That's true. That's a good point.
So maybe we, reify these ideas and think of them as, life and death as some larger than life, right? Occurrence, but maybe it's really, living and dying. Two intertwined processes that make up the dynamics of existence.
Right, and it's a continual inhalation, exhalation, just like the universe, the Big Bang.
Yeah.
That movement.
So to come back to the original taking off point for the discussion, if death really is a creative idea or a creative process, then actually the most creative thing about it would be if it differed in every circumstance. In other words, if there was no sort of universal quote-unquote death, but that dying was a process which every being faced in its own way, with certain commonalities, of course, but with death being like everything else in the universe, what we're calling death being a process which is unique, time-bound, or bound to one location, one time, one person, or at least not one size fits all. And that would be a radical different way to understand death, I think, is to understand it as a process where to understand it as a creative process.
Yeah.
But I think as we talk about it, it has to be a creative process, because life is a creative process and experience is a creative process. So I don't see how death could end all that unless death is just the end of everything, which I don't think it is.
Right. And I think you point to something very important here, Paul, that death is not like a generic one-size-fits-all occurrence, even though it happens to everything. It's very personal and it's very particular and it's very unique for each individual. So there's a personalness to death just as there's a personalness and uniqueness to life.
Right.
Yeah.
And that reflects the personalness and uniqueness to everything. It is, I think.
Yeah.
So Kim, by exploring creativity, I think we get right to the heart of death, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Into a deeper understanding of death than we've ever had.
Yeah. Well, I mean, creativity for me is... we're going to stop there.